What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Fantasy Flex Podcast from the Action Network and Fantasy Labs. I am your host, Chris Raybon, and this is your NFL Week 3 player projections episode. And who better to talk player projections than the man who's on a 15-game winning streak, a 15-bet winning streak, I should say, a 14-0 last week, the odds maker, Sean Kerner. Just a ridiculous showing by you. So again, congratulations, and hopefully you can keep it going this week.
Yeah, thank you. And I don't want week 2 to end. In fact, I was writing week 2 in our outline and stuff. I can't believe it's already week 3. I feel like it seemed like yesterday we were talking about like season-long bets and things like that. But yeah, had an amazing week 2. Hoping to keep it rolling here in week 3.
All right, so this episode is the one where we go into our top 5 in terms of rankings. Then we dive into players we're high and low on at each position and finish out with a prop. So we'll get right into quarterbacks. But before we do, just a reminder that all of our fantasy football content this year, including our award-winning fantasy rankings, projections, available and more at fantasylabs.com. All right, quarterback, top 5, week 3. Who you got?
Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, and Kyler Murray.
I got Hurts, Jackson, Joe Burrow, Allen, and Kyler Murray. I think this Washington defense is bad. So, yeah, maybe Burrow kind of flip-flops, but, he looked better last week against a really solid Chiefs D. So, yeah, I have to roll with Burrow for now against that Washington defense that you hit the under. That's all you can ask for. I had the Giants money line live, and I just like the third time I've gotten screwed by a team not having a kicker. And then I almost lost it. I think it was a Texans bet too once with the Agumba Wale was the kicker. So it's just my kryptonite.
Oh, man. Damn. I've Burrow QB6, just kind of waiting to see if Higgins returns this week. Then he'll be in my top 5. But you had Josh Allen number 4. Not that that's crazy, but any commentary on that?
Yeah, I think Josh Allen is just a little bit less likely to put up like those monster weeks just because he's not. This is just a much run heavier offense, and it's not just Allen anymore, right? It's James. They found a back in James Cook. Ray Davis is waiting in the wings. Joe Brady. I mean, they were so run heavy that they essentially ran Stephon Diggs out of town. That doesn't take much, but just with the little bit of a decrease in pass attempts and in pass volume, it's just a little bit tougher for Allen because he's still going to get you, an easy top 5 finish when he gets those rushing touchdowns, but he's also not necessarily as consistent, and he might not be as consistent all the time in terms of, what his usage is week to week. I mean, I think he had a low carry game already this year, but he had 2 touchdowns in it. What do you have, like 4? Let's see. Yeah, last week, 2 carries last week.
Yep.
And no touchdowns, just one through the, no rushing touchdowns, I should say, one through the air. The receiving core is just not as good. So, I think you could just see some, just a little more inconsistency from Josh Allen. That's all. I mean, with that said, I might end up with him maybe a couple spots higher, but it's due to that. The
not just 2 carries, 2 yards on the ground. But I noticed that too. Like, it's not looking good. But then again, like Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes all have their own issues separately as well. So that's why Allen still ended up being my QB1. But the floor is actually there for Allen now. So not shocked to have him QB4. I just couldn't get him quite there. But it's kind of down season for all these high-end guys.
Yeah, Allen is he's now under 30 attempts in my model. Mm-hmm. He's in the high 20s. So that just kind of shows you when you have to be a lot more efficient because the Bills are also just very good and Josh Allen is very good. So you could have some positive game scripts. The Jaguars, they played 2 kind of uglyish games. You never know what you're going to get out of Jacksonville, and I think Hurts is in a better spot to be a shootout with New Orleans. Jackson's in a better spot to be a shootout with Dallas, and the Commanders can't really stop anybody. So, and then the Lions, potential shootout against Kyler. So there's a lot of options, in that top 5 this week. Wouldn't be surprised if Allen finished QB1, obviously, but it's a little closer. All right, who are you high on?
Yeah, this kind of sums up 2024 so far. I'm kind of like down on Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes. Oh, but I'm high on Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm high on Sam Darnold. He's my, I apologize for mentioning him like every QB pod in the offseason, but I thought he was a sleeper pick in 2 QB leagues. He might be playable in normal traditional 1 QB leagues right now. He's my QB 16, and he keeps trending up because this is the best situation he's been in his entire career. He's throwing to arguably the top receiver in the game in Justin Jefferson. So after a really good start, he's thrown for 2 touchdowns in both games so far. Also flashed, his rushing upside that we know he has last week with 32 yards on the ground. And this week, he has a tough test again. The Texans defense, I think, is the real deal this year. It's a tough spot. But, this could be a potential shootout with, the Texans offense putting up points as well and kind of forcing the Vikings to more pass-heavy game script. So assuming Justin Jefferson's fully healthy, ready to go this week, and they get Jordan Addison back, I also think that, Aaron Jones being in this offense is a game changer. Just still one of the best running backs when healthy, a real threat in the passing game. And Ty Chandler is a great number 2 option. There's just a lot of pieces around Darnold that I think are just making him have this breakout season. So again, he's my QB 16, but trending up where, he could really break out and become, an every week low end QB1 going forward. So I'm high on Sam Darnold this week.
This could be, talk about a shootout. This could get there just because, I think both defenses are a lot better than people think, but especially if Darnold's top 2 weapons go, I just think there's a lot of explosiveness there. So that's a very intriguing spot. I am going to roll with Gardner Minshew. I think he's a guy that no one's really going to mention when we talk about all these quarterbacks, but I think he has a sneaky spot against this Carolina Panthers defense that hasn't been very good, and now their offense could be a little better. So Justin Herbert threw touchdowns on 10% of his pass attempts. Derek Carr threw touchdowns on more than 10% of his pass attempts. So both games so far, the Panthers have given up double-digit touchdown rates, 5 touchdowns on just 44 pass attempts. Have the Buccaneers allowed. So I think you could have a sneaky efficient spot. Devontae Adams looked re-energized. Bowers is breaking out, and if Bowers, it's still early in the year. Bowers could continue to emerge here, and if he does, that's just going to help a guy like Gardner Minshew. So I know it's been kind of up and down, and it's been ugly at times for him. And your guy, Aiden O'Connell, waiting in the wings, but Minshew's had 25 and 30 completions in the 2 games, completed more than 75% of his passes in the 2 games, has a touchdown pass in the 2 games. So he can just instead of one of those interceptions, turn that into a touchdown, and now you're in business. So I think he's a really sneaky spot where this Panther, just like we didn't know just how bad the Panthers were, on offense, I don't know if we know how bad they are on defense either. Mm-hmm. So I'm willing, to kind of talk. He's inside my top 20 this week, QB 18, nice. Right there tied with a guy like Deshaun Watson, who, you just don't know what you're getting from him. If you're going to get a bad defense, a defense that could get some pressure in an outdoor game, I rather go with a guy like Minshew against just the defense that's been getting shredded this year. Mm-hmm. So give me some Gardner Minshew.
My favorite stat after week 2 is Gardner Minshew is the only quarterback to throw for more than 250 yards in both games so far this year. And my under 2,600 yard prop seems toast unless he gets hurt or something. Not wishing for that, but he's looked good the first 2 games, and again, only quarterback to eclipse 250 passing yards in each of the first 2 games so far.
Hilarious. Really low on.
Justin Herbert's my QB 29 to open the week against the Steelers, and it's still taking my brain just time to adjust to the idea that Justin Herbert's a low end QB2, and this week pushing, QB30. But that's just what it is right now. The Chargers got rid of his top 3 pass catchers from last year. They're expected to be a run heavy offense this year, which they have been, and they've been playing with the lead in both games so far. And that certainly could be the case again this week against the Steelers. So, he's also, he has the plantar fasciitis he's dealing with, and now he's dealing with a leg injury where, he's probably going to play through it, but that's going to limit his mobility even more. I thought that maybe like his sneaky rushing upside would salvage, some QB2 value from him, but looks like we might not get that anytime soon. So this is just a tough matchup. Again, the Chargers aren't really throwing the ball much. And it's just crazy to say this, but yeah, Herbert is, my QB 29 to start the week. And just, it's still a process for me to deal with that.
Yeah, they're just so run heavy. They're just, that's what we kind of thought was going to happen. At some point that there'll be some game scripts, but it's going to be tougher to predict. So yeah, I'm right with you. He's right. He's in my bottom 5 as well. I am low on Justin Fields. He's in the top 15 in ECR. He's closer to pushing to 20 just because this Charger defense, we don't know a ton about them either. I mean, they play the Raiders and then they play the Panthers, and every time they play the Panthers, it's just you never know. But right now, Chargers are 3rd in yards per play allowed. They are 2nd in total yards allowed. They've forced 4 turnovers in 2 games. That's top 5. They've only given up 21 first downs. That's first in the league by 6 of the next closest team. And they've only given up 6.5 points per game. So, this is just a spot where Justin Fields, I mean, he's not really doing anything too special. It's just Russell Wilson's kind of hurt, and he's also not that good. So, and the Steelers have a good defense. So I don't like the fact that you don't really have that like shootout upside in this spot the way, maybe you would in an indoor game or something like that, or with a different kind of set of teams. The Steeler defense is too good. They're back at home. Yeah. Kind of a letdown spot, but I just don't see enough upside there. Even if Fields is running around, it's just we kind of see what Pittsburgh is doing. It ain't pretty. So yeah, I'm kind of off Fields.
Yeah, we're down both quarterbacks in this game. What's the total? It's like 36 or something. Yeah,
35.5. I think I saw it get to
35.
Probably that's too low, to be honest.
Oh, you think so? Yeah.
I mean, once you get to those totals like that low,
that's like
it's tough. Yeah.
That's like Browns Steelers in late December total right there.
Right.
With
you just had the what was it, Steelers Broncos go under, but I remember a Steelers Patriots game last year. It was like a total that low, and then all it took was like a couple of plays in the third quarter, and it just flew.
Did it clear? Was that the game that the totals like dipped to like 29.5, and
something
it cleared
like that?
it cleared it in the first half or something crazy.
No, early third quarter. I think there was like a slew of like back to back, like a block punt or something like just a few wild scenarios. But yeah, the Chargers still look decent, but you like the Steelers, we know what they're gonna do. They're gonna play like 4 tight ends, and it's not a game I want too much fantasy action in. Who is the prop this week? I think you're back at quarterback, right?
Yeah. Yep. I was going to go with something. I was going to go with Andy Dalton passing yards, but that's boring. So you inspired me last pod asking, the chances of Skylar Thompson finishing top 10. I did confirm with my sim. It's about 15%. So I guessed that correctly. But I'm going to give you just his final rank over under. And I have that at 20.5 actually. So I got it like a 50-50 chance he finishes in the top 20. Are you going to pick him to finish inside the top 20 or outside the top 20?
Ooh, that is a good one.
And he's my QB 27. This is just how distributions work. It doesn't mean that I think he's going to finish outside the top 25 or even the top 20. Just that's kind of the variance that's at play with quarterback every week is everybody kind of has a wide range of outcomes. So it's just interesting to point out that even though I've ranked 27, his over under is still 20 and a half.
Yeah, that's tough. But because I do like what Seattle's kind of doing on defense.
Yeah.
But like 20 is not a crazy tough bar to clear. That's a really good line.
He has like average rushing upside. Like he's like like an Andy Dalton, Sam Darnold type. Like he could run for 30 yards once every 16 games or something like that. Like we have been a big enough sample on him to know some of these things.
Let's see. Seahawks have given up under 150 yards to both quarterbacks they faced, Nix and Brissett. I think Thompson is kind of in that same, like it's kind of another one of those. So yeah, I'm gonna go like lower than 21st or worse. Yeah.
Who could just dump it off to Tyreek or Achane and just.
Well, that's the thing. I think that they have Achane, they have Wright, they might get Mostert back. Like they could just lean on the run because the Seattle pass defense has been very good. I mean, and even if it's to do it's a competition, this is another they have the wide receivers there, so it could go differently. But yeah, I'm gonna go under just especially because they poached Huntley, so there's always a chance they just really weren't feeling Thompson and he has a short leash, quick hook, whatever you want to call it.
Right. Yeah, I mentioned his rushing upside. I think he's combined for 10 total rushing yards in his 4 starts. But if you watch preseason, he flashes his rushing upside there. So I stand corrected. But he's a guy that I'm projecting for about 10 rushing yards either way.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be totally surprised because it's like I said, it's McDaniel. But yeah, I'm looking at his game logs and yeah, he didn't have as much as I thought. Where he backed into a productive game. Now it's all pretty terrible. We got to go talk to some running backs, and I would start with your top 5.
This is my favorite time of the week. I project by team. So I don't even know my top 5. I just sorted by points. So I'm reading my top 5 for the first time right now. Wow. Okay. Number 1, Alvin Kamara. Number 2. Yeah. I thought okay. All right. Very curious to hear yours then. Jordan Mason, Breece Hall, Saquon Barkley, Bijan Robinson.
That is, I mean, Alvin Kamara, just like old times. Back at the in the number
he's earned
spot.
It against this Eagles run defense. He's earned it, in my opinion.
So, I got Breece Hall, Bijan, Jordan Mason, Alvin Kamara, Saquon Barkley.
Same 5, just in a completely shuffled order. Love it.
It's early in the week.
Yeah,
but
I'm not saying I'm right and you're wrong. It's a very spicy top 5 for both of us.
I mean, it should probably just be Jordan Mason. Number 1.
Yeah, but he's not playing on passing downs. That's the only thing holding him back.
I mean, he played on 62. I think he ran around 62, 58%. It's not too bad. It's not like the other run. It was just use check, though.
He's not getting those targets. That's the thing. I agree.
He's getting every carry.
That's
in that offense with no Debo, he's going to get more carries.
That's why he's my RB2. Alvin Kamara is getting a healthy amount of carries and 5 catches a game kind of thing. And a good matchup. The Eagles run defense is pretty rough in my opinion right now.
Yeah, Eagles the NFL's most yardage friendly offense. Like defense, excuse me. They've given up the most yards. And have the Saints gained the most yards? Is that what we're getting this week?
I think so. Yeah. So that means Alvin Kamara, 10 carries, 13 yards, no.
Taysom Hill, 3 touches, 3 touchdowns.
Yeah. Jamal Williams, Vultures, Kamara for 3 1-yard scores.
Let's see. Oh, no, it's actually Ravens and Lions have the Saints beat in total yardage. Saints have the most points, though, 91. No one else has more than 69. So
the Saints have taken their foot off the gas after 2-3 quarters. So go by first half. If you go by first half, I bet they're the top offense.
Yeah, I mean you get the points either way. So, but yeah, I can't knock Kamara. I was kind of it's like why wasn't he doing this these last few years? It was just the Saints just got so stale, and it's just refreshing to see them take advantage of their talent, and see Derek Carr finally be in a good spot where they're at, they're putting him in a spot to succeed rather than overstretching him and making it go poor. But it's a long season, Panthers bench Bryce Young, so anything could happen. Kirk Cousins stole a win, but maybe that division is more competitive, but certainly should be interesting there. Who are you high at quarterback? Running back week 3. Oh, I'm all.
I'm doing the same thing.
I just want to say week 2 so you could go another 14-0.
Thank you. Yeah, but again, I literally think it's still week 2. But it's Zach Charbonnet week for me again. He's my RB7 against the Dolphins, assuming he does get another start here with Kenneth Walker dealing with that oblique injury. They're hinting at him, being out again this week, and it would make sense. I think they could still beat the Dolphins with Charbonnet, taking all the snaps. And, Charbonnet's one of the top running back handcuffs in terms of upside. If, Walker would ever miss time, and that rang true last week. He played 96% of the snaps, barely came out of the game. Although one of the most frustrating things with Charbonnet early in his career is he's very efficient when Walker's in there, and he's the backup. But anytime Walker misses time, Charbonnet is extremely inefficient. And, while we'd expect, the backup to have, some sort of drop off in terms of efficiency when they start, it's been pretty stark when it comes to Charbonnet. I think that changes this week where he puts it all together. He has the volume, the efficiency, scored a touchdown last week. So, again, he's in my top 10. This is a great spot for him at home against, Skylar Thompson and the Dolphins. I think they're going to lean on Charbonnet pretty heavily here. So he opens the week inside my top 10, assuming Walker's held out this week. Another back I'm high on is Deontay Foreman. He's my RB32. Saw a much bigger role in week 2. He actually drew the start, being the first back on the first drive. Pierre Strong, who had been mixing in, making this sort of a murky 3-way committee, suffered a hamstring injury. He's probably out this week. So I think Foreman and Ford are playable this week against the Giants, but just given it's a home game where the Browns should win, that does set up better for Foreman. He's the early down back, the goal line back. So I think he's a decent play in the RB3 flex range. And whenever he gets going, he keeps it going. He's a decent grinder back. So again, he opens the week as my RB32. I'm pretty high on him entering week 3.
Yeah, I was surprised to see him kind of just start off the game, and I probably would have played even more. I think he at one point he fumbled, but then recovered it right at the goal line. So that would have just sent everything into disarray. But he out snapped Ford. Strong went down. The Giants are just, it's getting ugly. It's getting late early over there.
Yeah.
I am high on Zach Moss. So we kind of wondered exactly what the role was going to be. I think, at one point I was saying, hey, he could kind of get this Joe Mixon role. And it seems like he kind of has. He's been the Bengals have been in some trailing game scripts and they haven't used running backs a ton, but Moss is clearly ahead of Chase Brown in the pecking order, getting about a 75-25 split in favor of Zach Moss. And, he played 51 snaps last week. And more encouragingly, he's playing a ton on passing down snaps as well. I think part of it is they like him as a blocker, which doesn't really help you for fantasy, but you're a real step down in class going up against this Washington Commanders defense. And I think the Bengals will just be able to move the ball, up and down the field at will, as, everyone's been doing Washington. Now, remember, Washington is a little better in the run, on run defense than they are against the pass. So I expect Burrow to have a big day, but this is a spot where Devin Singletary, 95 yards and a touchdown, and could have had more. He fumbled away. I think he fumbled in Washington territory as well. So and then the week before that, they gave up 89 receiving yards to the combination of Rachaad White and Bucky Irvin. So, we've been seeing Moss play most of the pass down snaps as well as get, 75% of the backfield carries. So this is a spot where he could put up a mixing of Bengals mixing like stat line here. So he is a top 15 guy for me to open the week at running back. Who are you low on at running back in week number 3?
Yes, just piggybacking what you said, I have Zach Moss as my RB15. And on the other side, Chase Brown's all the way down to my RB44. And just that goes with Zach Moss dominating the snaps right now for the Bengals. And we expected this to be, closer to 50-50 timeshare, maybe go with the hot hand. And even though it looked like Chase Brown was the more efficient back, he'd come in and rip off an 8-9 yard run, and then they would just send him right back to the bench because Moss was catching his breath. It's not up to me to determine who gets the touches, but Zach Moss is clearly the lead back for now. And it's just unfortunate timing because the Bengals play the Commanders and then the Panthers. So it's just a perfect time for Zach Moss to be the lead back. Horrible time for Chase Brown to just be like the backup stash. And that's why I wanted to bring him up is I think he's borderline droppable at this point, but he is still just a Zach Moss injury away of offering RB2 value. So I wouldn't drop him unless there's like a clear, better alternative right now. Plus, this is a backfield where anything can happen. So I would maybe hold on to him for now, but you cannot play him. He's absolutely staying on your bench until, proven otherwise or Moss misses time. But I'm low on Chase Brown to open up this week. I'm also lower than consensus on Brian Robinson Jr. to start the week. He's my RB25. ECR has him RB15, which just feels a bit high, even though he's had a phenomenal start. He had a rushing score in week 1, 130 rushing yards last week. This could just be a tougher spot for him specifically. Going on the road against Cincinnati is, 8-point underdogs. You would assume that like a potential negative game script would help Austin Eckler and, hurt Brian Robinson Jr. So, of course, watch the Commanders pull off the win. The Bengals start 0-3 and Robinson, gets a couple scores. But just in terms of my projections process, he should be, on that RB2-3 sit-start decision range where, you probably still have to start him in deeper leagues. But I'm just a bit lower on Robinson than consensus, just given this possibility of it being a trailing game script, which certainly hurts someone like him.
Yeah, I actually think they're going to probably just try to get him on the field more, even because he's looked good. He's starting to look good. I almost bet the season long under on his receiving prop, and I was like, I don't know, it's kind of pushing it. It was down to like 275 or something. I mean, he's not really. You got Eckler there, but it's just been a very running back centric offense, and again with Jayden Daniels kind of taking it one step at a time and not overextending himself. They might continue with this offense, and I think they might try to just get them both on the field at the same time even. So, yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, he is my RB24, so I'm kind of there with you, but I think he's going to move up because I think he's just looking better and better. It just doesn't seem like a guy who's going to get lost in the shuffle with a rookie quarterback. Like, I think he's been their best player. Period. Like, aside from I think he's been their best player.
We're both 10 slots below ECR. I mean, who knows what people are doing to get their ECR right now, just cycling, last week's ranks, but I'm not that much lower on anybody else. So I agree. I think Robinson has clearly exceeded my expectations. He probably should be higher in my projections, but just based on everybody, he does seem like the guy that's sticking out the most, at least according to like early ECR.
Yeah, I mean, he did have like a route rate north of 50% last week. Now, like you said, that was because Commanders in positive game script, but I mean, hey, the Bengals have played everyone close, so who knows? It's,
exactly.
I would rather. I think I would rather be high on Robinson just because like eye test wise for me, we both are lower, and I mean, it kind of shows you the floor. There's a floor there because you're talking about two running backs sharing, 50, 60, 40 in terms of snaps. There's a lot of ways that could go south,
right.
But I think Robinson is probably a good bet to at least, be not fall like completely out of there because I think he's just
Well, if we, like, okay, then I'm low on Trey Sermon. He sucks. There you go. That's got real low on right now. Okay.
Oh man, Tyler Goodson.
He's eating in Jonathan Taylor's passing down work, right? That's
I know Taylor's been bad in blocking and whatnot.
Yep.
I am low on Jaylen Warren again. I still think I know he was better last week. He got more snaps, more touches, but this Pittsburgh offense, man, like I just don't want to invest in this Pittsburgh offense. I don't want to start people with Justin Fields as a quarterback. Even if it is a running back, he's still a pass catching running back. Fields is still a guy that's going to pull it down and scramble rather than check down. And you still got Patterson playing some snaps, so it's not like last year when it was all Harris and Warren. And this just may be like a really tough matchup. We don't exactly know how good this Charger defense is, but it could be excellent. They face the Carolina Panthers, so it's just you never really know. But it's not like they even you don't have to, they can kind of focus on the run. I know they gave up like 6.4 yards per carry to Hubbard last week, but it was a lot of that was just because they didn't care anymore. But I do think now you're going to be able to prepare for the Steeler offense. Warren getting the 11 touches, I think woke people up last week. But I just with three backs, shuffling in and out, an offense that might not score touchdowns some weeks. I just think the floor is too low for a guy like Jaylen Warren. So he's still outside my top 40 yet again. So here's one. Last week we kind of talked about Josh Jacobs and like whether he would be like just a bell cow, but now, and he was, but now he's got Marshawn Lloyd is back, but he has the hamstring. So let's go with ankle, excuse me. But Wilson is still kind of a factor. So you do have three guys, but you have Malik Willis. So this could go a lot of ways. They're on the road this time. I'm going to give you a carry prop for Josh Jacobs. Does he get over 20 and a half?
Love it. I'm in a lean under. I have him at 20.1. I'm going to go under. You mentioned the running backs. I mean, Jaden Reed's going to get a couple of carries. They got Bo Melton a rush attempt or two. I wouldn't be surprised if I don't know why Christian Watson didn't get in on the 50 rush attempts, but he can get a rush.
Get a touch in that game?
I think he ran like 9 routes. Didn't see a target. Didn't see a ball. Oh, he caught a ball?
No.
Yeah,
he got 13 yards on 5 targets in 2 games.
Yeah. Well,
so he's going for 100 and a tutty this week.
Yeah, obviously. But I think that he would make sense to give a direct rush. He has a couple long runs in his career. But my point is that some of these receivers are even eating into his share. Granted, there's probably going to be 40 plus rush attempts to go around. So that's why this is a great line. But that was just like the perfect game for the Packers. I think, the Titans have to know it's coming. I mean, they're the ones who drafted and had Malik Willis for all these years. So if there's anybody that come with the game plan to slow him down, maybe it's them. I love the line. I bet you that's his prop. And I'm going to lean under. I wouldn't bet the under, but I'm going to lean under because I have to choose the side here. But that's
you don't usually see the carry props get to 20 because usually the median for just all across the league is like total running back carries is like 21 or so. So you don't usually see a 20. Maybe Derrick Henry, I think, in his prime, but it's rare. But you could get there. He had over 30 last week. It's also pretty rare. A crazy time in the top ranks at wide receiver. I mean, you lose Debo, you lose AJ, Amon-Ra gets banged up, Tyreek Hill loses his quarterback, Justin Jefferson's banged up. Who we got left?
Well, I mean, my number one wide receiver is CeeDee Lamb, but I have his reception projection under 6 now. It's 5.8 receptions. He's still my number one wide receiver. Then I have Justin Jefferson, assuming he's healthy, Jamar Chase, Rashee Rice, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. I don't know if he's going to play. If he's out, Nico Collins is my wide receiver 6. He would replace him at wide receiver 5 if Amon-Ra can't play.
Yeah, Chase, Lamb.
Wait, Chase number 1.
Yeah, it's the Commanders, bro.
Okay, no, I'm not gonna argue on that.
How many balls last week?
That is
how
true.
Many? I think he just scored another one on the Commanders defense.
Well, let me. How many routes run do you have T. Higgins running this week?
None right now.
Okay, I would probably have Chase number 1 if I didn't have Higgins at 80%. That's probably the difference. But I love it. I love the spicy number 1 rank.
They can finish number 1 and 2. I mean, if they, like, it's
true. Yeah.
This Commanders, Malik Neighbors. Let's see.
66
10 for 127 with Daniel Jones as quarterback. 18 targets. This is blow up game incoming for Jamar Chase.
Well, what was his target per route run rate? Like 66%.
Yeah, they only targeted 4 players.
Yeah, usually that's like DeAndre Carter got 2 targets on 3 routes run. This is a guy that had like 50 routes run and he was 66% or something crazy like that.
Yeah, so PFF has him 17 official targets. NFL Gamebook has him 18. PFF has him 17 targets on 27 routes. That is
wow,
insane. So yeah, I'm
Jamar Chase number 1. There you go.
Yeah, I feel good. I mean, CeeDee Lamb he does what he does. It might flip flop, but as of right now, I don't know if Higgins is 100 like a
how many
bet to play. It's early in the week.
How many receptions? How many receptions do you have Lamb at right now?
5.9. So I didn't like that he was at 80% in a blowout. I mean, you are facing the Ravens this week, so they're in they're hungry too. So you never know. So yeah, I just this Commanders defense, I'm just gonna target them. But don't hold me to it. It's Tuesday. But either way, this is not no one cares. If you got Chase, you're starting Chase. If you got Lamb, you're starting.
Right.
All right. Did I even get through my top? Did I get through my top 5, or did we just?
No, I was too excited about Jamar Chase number 1. You could just start over.
Oh yeah, so Chase Lamb, Amon-Ra if he plays, Devontae Smith, and Tyreek Hill.
Nice. Oh, Tyreek's still in your top 5. Okay, that's gonna help me with my prop coming up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. It's still Tyreek Hill. Like I'm not gonna just fade Tyreek Hill.
True.
I'd rather just fade him. I mean, like back him and lose than fade him. Like, you know what I mean? It's just not.
Yeah.
It's not fun.
Good point.
All right. Where are you high at the position wide receiver entering week 3, Sean Kerner?
I'll just start off with Demarcus Robinson because he's my wide receiver 33. I'm sure ECRs is catching up to updating their models with Cooper Kupp out, but I think just without Puka, without Kupp, he'll be the top target. We talked about Jordan Whittington. He could be a sneaky flyer, but if you need a Ram receiver to play this week, I think it's got to be Robinson. And yeah, it's a tougher matchup against the Niners, but I think the Rams are going to have to throw. They're 7-point dogs at home. So, I liked Robinson as a sleeper pick going into the season. If you aren't starting him this week, then you should just drop him. I think Robinson's a wide receiver 3 this week. And then, oh my God, Rashid Shaheed, my boy, wide receiver 20. It's finally happened where he's always carried just massive upside every week. But he's a fairly volatile deep threat where he's going to settle in like wide receiver 39, wide receiver 40 most weeks. But just based on his underlying usage, I think he's going to offer like a high floor ceiling combo now and as a clear wide receiver 2, just based on his underlying usage, had 94% routes run rate. And he's seen a target on 25% of his routes. And this is in 2 games where the Saints blew out the other team. So we've really yet to see a pass-heavy game script or just, anything other than an extreme run-heavy game script from the Saints. So just I'm really high on Shaheed right now. This offense is much better under Clint Kubiak. They're running more play action. I'm sure, I haven't looked at the numbers, but I'm sure that's been helping Shaheed. He seems like the perfect guy for Derek Carr to target on play action. So just all the underlying numbers are backing it up. But I think he's like clearly a wide receiver 2 now and inside my top 20 this week.
Woo! I thought I was high. I'm like wide receiver 22 2 or something like that. But
Oh, you're high on him. Yeah.
That is, woo! I'm just happy because it was one of those things that made me kind of do a little bit of a double take there. Like,
yeah,
oh,
same.
wait, what the hell? But Eagles getting torched by receivers again.
Yeah.
It seems like we're back to normal.
Yep.
I am high this week on Brandon Ayuk. I think, with Debo out, it's, he's spent now 2 weeks kind of catching up to speed. Last week he was, close to 90% routes run. This week, I think he gets, you had Kittle with the big game. So I think that you get a Ayuk blow up week. It's got to be coming. They were negotiating with him all off season. They signed him to a big deal. He's just missed a couple touchdown catches in the end zone, but this is a guy who, averaged 84 yards, put up, 1,300 yards and 7 touchdowns a season ago. This year, he's averaging 3 catches for 35.5 yards per game. He's going to blow up. And this Rams defense has allowed a monster game to Jameson Williams and a monster game to Marvin Harrison Jr. I think Ayuk is next. All right. Who are you low on at wide receiver week 3?
I'm low on Jaylen Waddle. He's my wide receiver 31. And, the Dolphins passing offense takes a huge hit without Tua and Skylar Thompson taking over. Kind of as you alluded to, I think Tyreek Hill is the guy that I'd still bet on when it comes to fantasy. They're still going to find ways to give him the ball. If it's not Skylar Thompson throwing it, they'll hand it off to him. He's going to get touches. And, Waddle's going to take a big hit. He's still very talented. I think he'll be fine. But he's stayed under 60 yards in 3 of the 4 Skylar Thompson starts back in 2022, which is not an encouraging sign. But I still think he's playable. He's my wide receiver 31, so he's playable in, deeper leagues where you're starting 3 receivers. But he's the guy out of the 2, I think, that I would consider benching, just at least until we see, how Skylar looks this year. But yeah, I agree. I think Tyreek Hill's still a must play, but Waddle is certainly much more on the sit-start fence this week without Tua.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got a lot of upside, but I think he's more of like a DFS play because, the floor is very low. You just don't, now that they have Achane and, a bunch of explosive guys in that backfield, they don't always have to, go through Hill and Waddle. It could just be Hill. You just kind of don't know, and you don't know what the ability is really to get him the ball because Hill is still going to be the top target and most likely get his. So, yeah, I'd kind of reserve Waddle for DFS and keep it at that. I am low on Jayden Reed. Yeah, he's the wide receiver 35 in consensus. He's my wide receiver 45. I still don't fully trust Malik Willis. It's one of these spots where the Packers have 4, 5, 6, 7 talented skill players, and Reed probably the most talented among them. Arguably, maybe some people would say Watson, and you have Wicks emerging, but I just think that there's too much downside here where he could catch 0 passes or put up like a 4 or 5 point game like he did in the playoffs. I think both playoff games last season. So Malik Willis is still a guy who I project like barely to clear 150 passing yards, and I don't even think he did that last week, did he? He was 12 of 14. So
I think it was like 122. I had the under 169, so I was watching that closely. I think it was 122, right?
Yep, 12 of 14 for 122. So I'm in wait and see mode. Like that was great game plan by LaFleur, but it's clearly a one where he had to manage him, and now they go from getting to Green Bay. They go from being at home as a dog to having to go on the road to a Tennessee defense that looked a little better. They know Malik Willis, or at least some people in that building do. It's a different regime, but just not a spot where I want to really count on any Packers receiver. It's just it was going to be tough even with Jordan Love at quarterback, just because of how much talent they have on that roster. Picking a guy in any given week to go off. Now you factor in Jacobs has upside for 30 carries. Musgrave and Kraft both over 40% routes run last week. So like that's going on. You just don't know exactly how it's going to all shake out for Jayden Reed. So unfortunately, if you got him in best ball, I think it makes sense, but just not sure what I'm going to get from him in regular redraft. All right, let's go to a receiver prop, and that's who's up. That's me, right?
Me.
Oh yeah. Right.
Yeah, I'm going straight to it. Tyreek Hill receiving yards. Let's do it. 68.5.
Ooh. Let's see what I got.
This is not including rushing yards. I intentionally omitted that. This is receiving yards only.
Ooh, and he's coming off a slow game too.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good line. That's a good one.
I bet that his props got to be in the 70s though.
I think it will start like it's over, but it might end up closing like 69.5.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go over because he could get that in one play, and they have a long long layoff to scheme up whatever they need to. Yep. So I feel like just when we're saying, oh man, time to be low in Tyreek Hill, it's 150 yards, 2 touchdowns.
He had a 177 yard game with Skyler. 12 catches, 177 yards in week 6. Yes. Oh, I guess that was with Teddy Bridgewater.
A little different, not quite Skyler, but like I said, he's coming off a slow game. So now, I mean, you kind of mentioned it, and I'm looking at where is he in ECR? He is 11, which is like the lowest. That's like a 10-spot drop from last week. I just think it's one of those things where you're gonna kind of see him bounce back one way or another, whether it's just it takes 15 targets, whether it's just 1 or 2 big plays. But I think he gets there. So I told you I don't like fading Tyreek, but that's a good line because I have it right there.
Yep.
All right, let's go tight end. Who's your top 5 at this? I mean, geez, turning into kicker.
yeah, I know, right? Well, I have Travis Kelce number 1. Despite this is the first time in a long time I have him 4.9 receptions, so fewer than 5 receptions, and he's still my tight end 1. That's how bad it is right now. Then it's Trey McBride, George Kittle, Sam Laporta, and Mark Andrews.
I got Kittle, McBride, Kelce, Laporta, and Dallas Goedert. Assuming AJ Brown sits, which it sounds like he will.
Yeah, he's for sure out. It sounds like.
Yeah. So it's. But I mean, Bowers has a case too. He's getting up there. But Andrews he's right around that 75%. So I don't know what I'm getting with him anymore. It doesn't feel like the Andrews of old. It almost feels like Likely is like right there now. So, but Andrews is still. I mean, at least he caught 4 for 51 last week. Mm-hmm. But yeah, feeling good about Bowers now. I wonder if he's prime for like just a monster stretch. Now that the Raiders look like maybe they're not a complete dumpster fire. They might have some juice. Might have got energized by that upset comeback against the Ravens. All right, who are you high on at tight end?
Well, you kind of hinted at it, but if I made some slight tweaks, Brock Bowers would actually be in my top 5. He's my tight end 6 right now. Definitely trending up. He had the 9-catch, 98-yard game last week. That was off a route run rate of just 65% of Minshew's dropbacks. So, I mean, that can only go up going forward, especially if the Raiders start using more 2 tight end sets. They keep saying, we want to use more 2 tight end sets, but they don't because they get behind and have to start throwing the ball. But that could change this week against the Panthers, where we actually see more 2 tight end sets with Bowers and Michael Mayer out there at the same time. That's just going to bump up Bowers' routes run rate. He's already seeing a ton of targets, 7 or more targets in each of his games to start his career. I mentioned Gardner Minshew is the only quarterback that's thrown for 250 plus yards in both games so far. So this passing offense, just given how down the entire league is passing the ball, this offense has been one of the better ones so far. So just given the state of the tight end position and how good of a prospect Bowers is and his underlying usage, I would not be shocked if by the end of the week he is in my top 5. Because like I said, just like, Mark Andrews, he did, would you say 4 catches, 51 yards? I think 2 of those were at the very end of the game. They got in the 2-minute offense and he got 2 quick catches that way. Those aren't that sustainable. So I think that, Bowers, he could end up my top 5. And just based on his underlying usage, he could end up being a top 3 tight end at this rate if he really breaks out this year, and just given the state of the tight end position. So he's a guy I'm very high on this week.
Yeah, no, I definitely that's the guy I think you want to take your shots on, because he's the talent is just too good, and he's already showing signs.
Yep.
For me, I'm not going to say Zach Ertz, because he has a little 4 for 62 last week.
Yep.
I think he's a decent play yet again. Could be a trailing game script, but who knows? But I'm going to go with Goddard, because AJ Brown's going to be out, and Goddard bumped up to a 100% route rate, which is just extremely, extremely rare at the tight end position. Didn't do a ton with it, but I think this game has a potential for a lot of points indoors. Saints have been putting up massive point totals. The Eagles have been giving up a ton of yards. So, Dallas Goedert, he tends to see an uptick in production when one of Brown or Devontae Smith is out, and you have that situation here. So he is, I think he's a top 5 caliber tight end, and he was drafted as more of a, outside the top 10. So hopefully, maybe if you waited and, it was dire, I think he should show up this week. He's always been kind of, I think we were both talking, I don't think he's ever caught 60 in a season yet, but with AJ set to miss a few games, this is a guy that consistently has been over 4 yards a 4 receptions a game. So I think he has that 5, 6, 7 catch upside, especially if it's a shootout. All right, who are you low on?
I'm low on Dalton Schultz, 10 and 15. I always hate bringing him up because whenever I bring him up, he goes off. But I'm bringing him up within the context just of the position and sit-start decisions this week, where he's always going to be on that fringe tight end 1, tight end 2 range. And like I said, of course, since I bring up this week, he'll go off. But it's just going to be tough for him to be consistent as long as Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, and Tank Dell are all healthy. And we've seen that so far. He only has 3 targets in each game so far. So I just think some of these guys like, Hunter Henry, Isaiah Likely, Colby Parkinson probably just offer a better, long-term floor ceiling combo than Schultz does right now. Certainly if you're in a bind and he's the best available option, you could certainly do worse. But just when it comes to this tight end 1-2 range, I think we got to be very careful just sticking on guys because they're getting us through week to week. And really take a swing at a guy like Isaiah Likely, who has massive upside, or Parkinson, or Hunter Henry. So I would just be careful about, sticking with Schultz during this time where we might be landing some waiver wire gold, where I think that he's really going to be consistent if one of these top 3 receivers go down. But until that happens, it's just going to be tough for him to be consistent. So I'm a bit lower on him. I have him tight end 15 to open up the week.
Yeah, that's about where I have him too. It's, Stroud and this Houston offense they're very good, but they're also kind of very consistent. They're spreading it around. They're not taking, they're not necessarily just getting themselves into these shootouts. I think the defense has gotten better, and this could be a tough matchup. I have a lot of respect for Flores. So, and undoubtedly he's going to be looking for ways to kind of slow down CJ Stroud. Could throw some weird stuff at him. So just a lot of uncertainty there more than anything. So I'm not mad at it. I'm on Freiermuth. I think that he is in the ECR. He's the tight end 11. I don't think he's a startable tight end. I know he's caught 4 passes in each of the first 2 games. Seems back in good graces there, but it's still Justin Fields at quarterback. And you're facing a Chargers defense that is allowing just 6.5 points per game through 2 games. And the Steelers just played a game where they didn't score a touchdown in week 1. And then, what was it, a 13-6 game in week 2. So with these tight ends, you're really looking for kind of a touchdown when you're not, you don't have like a Bowers or a Kelsey, a guy who can get that volume. And I just don't know if you're going to really have that upside with the way the Chargers have been playing defense and the way the Steelers have been playing offense. So, 4 or 5 catches for 40, 50 yards. That might be his peak for now. It's just, I'd rather go with a guy, who I just think the team will throw more, or he could get it. He's a better bet for, a touchdown because they're projected to score more. Pittsburgh is not either. So I'm off. I'm a tight end 17, 6 spots lower.
How many passing yards are you projecting for Fields? I'm projecting him for 168, and that feels way too high. So just right. How are you like in the 150s? What do you got for him? And are you hinting at Freiermuth needs Russell Wilson to be a tight end one? Is that what you're getting at?
No, no one needs Russell Wilson to do anything. I thought Fields should have been the quarterback, and I feel like every week Tom's going to be like, you know what? As long as the defense keeps showing up.
Yep.
We've seen this before with Pittsburgh. They've had a run of Duck Hodges. They went to their third quarterback in Mason Rudolph. I mean, like this is what they do. So I haven't. But to answer your question, 159. So that's not great for Freiermuth. Not great for Pickett. Not even great for Jaylen Warren. Like that's why
exactly.
If you want consistency, or like a floor of some sort when you're taking guys on that fringe range in whatever position. And all three of those guys, Pickens has the upside, but it's just the floor is so low. And the ceiling isn't really – it's more just volatile, but it's not like, oh, my God, this guy has a massive ceiling, because this Pittsburgh team is going up against a team that's allowing 6.5 points per game. And we just don't know how good their defense is because they've been, under a lot of change, but they do have talent, and but they play the Panthers. So you just don't know. So, I want to wait and see on the Steelers passing game.
Yep. The only winner is Van Jefferson.
Oh, my God. Oh, man. Where's Roman Wilson at? He needs to.
I know, right? This week, or every week, we're going to start with a projection for him and then have to, zero him out. I'd be curious to see. I think he's going to play this week, though.
All right, for the prop, I think, do I want to go this guy? Yeah, let's do it. So, a lot of talk about the Rams this week, and, is there value on Robinson? Is it Whittington? Yeah. Tyree Johnson was the flavor of the week last week. But Parkinson was a guy that we were both high on, and he was disappointing as well. So let's go with him now, facing a tough, 49er linebacker corps with Warner and some good safeties. I am going to set Parkinson yardage at 32.5.
Oh, I typed out 33.5. I'll go. I want to be on his over. Davis Allen was out, which I think helped him a little bit, but that's a great line. He just has a very high floor right now, but I'd rather be on his over than under. So just give me the over.
Yeah, another 80+% route rate. So the underlying usage is there, but we know how the 49ers sometimes can just put the clamps on. You never know what you're gonna get when you're facing that defense. They can be very good and kind of take away guys. But Parkinson's kind of going under the radar this week, so I could also see a little bit of a bounce back.
True.
All right, that is going to do it for our week 2 projections pod here at Fantasy Labs. Make sure to subscribe to the pod so you don't miss an episode all season, and don't forget to check out all of our fantasy football content, award-winning projections, rankings, tools over at fantasylabs.com. Sean is on X at @_oddsmaker. I'm at Chris Raybon. We're at those same handles on the free, award-winning Action Network app. Until next time, let's get this shmoney.